Birth of a Nation is a film directed by Nate Parker, and it is a story of the slave rebellion led by Nat Turner in the early 1800s. I've been waiting in anticipation for this movie for a long time. I never thought I'd see a film like this about the true story of Nat Turner, the person who rebelled against slavery during a time where black people obviously were enslaved. I never thought this story would be honestly told, in the correct way. I thought it would be just prefabricated and not told in the most truest form as it is told here in this film. Nat Turner was a preacher. He was an enslaved preacher. His master and other white men would use his preachings to keep slaves in line. Nat Turner, being the prophet and faithful man that he is, as he went around and saw the torture and the beatings and the malice that was placed on these slaves, it led him to really zero in more on his faith and received a message from God that told him he needed to fight back and rebel against slavery, actually murder all these slave owners and white people that were oppressing African American slaves during this time. This movie is by far the most powerful movie I've seen in a very long time. The cinematography, the performances, just the emotion that is captured in this film is so powerful. First, let me just talk about how this film looks. And literally every shot, the wide shots of the trees, the cotton, the big houses, everything that was seen in the South, it was just beautifully, beautifully shot. Like everything looked like it looked like a painting. It was just so beautiful, the way things looked, the way they captured the tone of the South, like this beautiful place. Evil and inhumane things happen in this place in our country, and it's just, the cinematography just really captures that and allows you to settle in, just settle in and gets you ready for what's to come as far as the story that is about to unfold. Now, this film is really, really driven by faith and religion and spirituality. Almost its own character, I want to say, as far as like how each individual characters use their faith to justify what they're doing. Nat Turner, whether it's the slave masters and other white Christian people in the film, how they use their faith and use the Bible and use God and all these things to justify what they do. And I really, really appreciated that about this film. I've never really seen it portrayed in a film like that before. I just want to give kudos to the writers, and I believe Nate Parker wrote the screenplay as well. Just the writing and how that faith and spirituality really had its own tone in this film. Nate Parker, man, this guy, he is just amazing in this film. His performance, his direction, his screenwriting for this movie, everything is just, you can just tell that, and I've seen him say in interviews, he really, really cared about this piece. It was very important. It took him a long time to get it off the ground, and boy, was all that work he put into worth it. His performance as Nat Turner was just mesmerizing. You understood and rooted for this guy so much with the things that happened to him and his family and what he witnessed and the people around him. It was like, as I said, it was just amazing. Like his performance, I don't want to spoil anything, of course, but his performance in this film is definitely Oscar worthy. I hope he gets nominated. My favorite part in this entire film was the moment where you saw that switch go off in his head. Like, this is wrong. What these people are going through are wrong. It's just that moment where, you're caught up in the system and you're going along with it and you're just doing what you're accustomed to what goes on. Obviously, he's born a slave. That's all he knows. And then you see that moment where it's like, what's happening around me is wrong. You can dip your head down and just go with it or ignore it, but it comes a moment where things are just so powerful and things are just so wrong. You just have to stand up and go against that. And the way he portrays that, with his direction and of course his acting, is just so powerful. That was probably one of my favorite moments in this film. I don't want to, spoil and say when that happens, but there's a moment where you just see Nat Turner realize what's going on to my people. It has to stop. Asia Naomi King, who plays Nat Turner's wife, Cherry Ann, this lady did a fantastic job. Her performance was just really, really great. Some very, very bad things happened to her character. I'm not going to spoil anything, but the way she portrays that is just so powerful, and you definitely fall in love with her as Nat Turner is in the film. You can see why he's fallen in love with her. You can see why he loves her and how she provides motivation for him to do what he eventually does as well. You also have in this film Jackie Earl Haley. I thought he played definitely one of the most despicable human beings on film, and definitely, I guess, kudos to him, because I was very, very invested and believed his performance. This guy was very, very evil. Gabrielle Union, Calman Domingo, Armie Hammer, who plays Nat Turner's slave master, Anjanou Ellis, who plays his mother, Nat Turner's mother. But yeah, there were just so many great elements to this film that I love. The music choice, the score is so powerful. The most powerful song in the film, which kind of comes towards the end, is Strange Fruit by Miss Nina Simone. I've heard it probably a million times in movies and in shows and things like that, but I never really got 100% what it means until this film. I never knew she was talking about black people being hung on trees. Like, I never knew that. I never realized that until this film, because the song was in the trailer, and then there's a part towards the climax of the film where it plays again. And that particular song is so powerful, and when I hear it again, it'll mean so much more to me than it did before. Just a tribute to Miss Simone and what a legend she was. And all of the the other music and score of this film is just so powerful and mesmerizing. And I also know it's a lot of controversy surrounding this film. I'm not gonna really get into that, but for me, it's just, this story is just so powerful and so important, especially with what's going on now in our country. To see a film like this, it just helps further more the conversation that we just need to have as people in this country to make things better. And I think Birth of a Nation is a great, ode to what may happen to us as a people if we don't come to a conclusion or start the conversation on how things need to get better. That's my review and my thoughts on Birth of a Nation. Appreciate the support. Thank you so much for watching. Stay tuned, because as I always say, there's a lot more coming. Thank you and goodbye. Southern trees, bearing strange fruit.